Business Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date developments in the global financial world.
Turquoise waves continued to break peacefully on the beaches of Capri Island on April the 24th, that's a Friday, as the lockdown kept tourists away. Located on the Bay of Naples, Capri has had a magnetic pull for the millennia. From the ancient Greeks to Augustus to the first Roman emperor, the island has been a haven throughout history, one which draws visitors from around the globe for its beauty and luxury. In previous years, the month of April marked the start of the tourist season when the island came to life, with thousands visiting, Italians and foreigners, crowding the famous postcard-perfect Piazzetta. However, now only the sound of the sea breeze and chirping birds were heard in the narrow alleys of the island. According to a restaurant manager in the island, tourist destinations are experiencing a difficult time, with many reservations cancelled. Spring exploded, colors invaded the streets of the island, but only a few residents queuing in front of a grocery shop could enjoy this living painting. The coronavirus is taking a heavy toll on Italy's economy, with tourism one of the sectors hit by a plunge in orders. The Civil Protection Agency said deaths from COVID-19 in Italy climbed by 464 on Thursday, as the total official death toll since the outbreak came to light in February the 21st, standing at 25,549, the second highest in the world.
FIFA said on Friday it will release operational funds for 2019 and 2020, amounting to $150 million to its member associations as the first step of a relief plan to help negate the economic impact of COVID-19. The global soccer body added each of FIFA's 211 member associations would receive $500,000 in the coming days, as well as any remaining entitlements for 2019 and 2020. The coronavirus has brought soccer to a standstill, and clubs have struggled to cope with the loss of revenue. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said in a statement, COVID-19 has caused unprecedented challenges for the entire football community, and as the world governing body, it is FIFA's duty to be there and support the ones that are facing acute needs. FIFA said it would immediately release the second installment of operational costs for 2020, originally due in July, and which, under normal circumstances, member associations would have only received in full upon fulfillment of specific criteria. One of the most visited places in France, the Mont SaintMichel, welcomes approximately 2.5 million guests a year in normal times. However, now it lays empty except for 30 local residents whose restaurants, souvenir shops and cafes depend on the influx of tourists. The island is located about 1 kilometer off the country's northwestern coast. The mainland part of the commune is 971 acres in area, so that the total surface of the commune is 988 acres. The abbey was founded in 966, but it was in the 13th century that work began on its architecture, with towering walls and soaring pinnacles. Tourists began swarming to the abbey and the village that arose in the shadows of its walls in the 1980s, after it was designated a World Heritage Site. Now, with France under lockdown, the Mont Saint-Michel is closed to the public, while tourism is almost the only source of income. According to local residents, there will be no easing of the restrictions on public life until at least May 11th, and even then, it is unclear when France will reopen its borders, permit festivals, and allow the tourism sector to reboot. For centuries, the Mont Saint-Michel has been a historic and touristic destination. It attracts tourists from all over the world, and it counts among the most visited tourist sites in the whole of France.
The China National Space Administration, CNSA, announced Friday that China has named its first independent interplanetary mission, Taiwan N1, with the combined Mars orbiter and rover spacecraft apparently proceeding towards launch in July. The name and mission logo were unveiled at China National Space Administration online ceremony to mark the 50th anniversary of the launch of the country's first satellite. China's Mars probe, if achieved, will be the first of its kind to complete 3 missions at the same time. Since the relative position of Earth and Mars are chasing constantly, there will be only one launch window every 26 months for the probe to reach Mars. According to scientists, not only the time schedule is tight for the Mars mission, many unknown challenges will be awaiting ahead. China is understood to be planning a Mars sample return mission, a Jupiter orbiter, and considering possible missions to icy giants and interstellar space. A joint near-Earth asteroid sample return and comet rendezvous mission has also been proposed.
Germany's Agriculture Minister Julia Klöckner said on Wednesday she is concerned about the impact of continued dry weather on crops and that a third drought year could hit farms incredibly hard. The minister added Germany suffered droughts in 2018 and 2019, which caused harvest damage and loss of income, as the ground remains usually dry. She said since mid-March, some regions had received less than 10 liters of rainfall per square meters, compared to 50 liters per square meter usually. Germany's farmers are battling coronavirus restrictions and are still managing the problem of trying to find enough pickers for the asparagus season. Germany is one of Europe's leading producers of crops including wheat, barley, rapeseed, and sugar beet, and the country's recent mild winter also means more insect problems for crops. White asparagus producers were already facing crisis in March as the lockdowns shut out seasonal pickers for Eastern Europe. Germany's agriculture ministry did reach an agreement to allow up to 40,000 seasonal farm workers into the country in April and another 40,000 in May. The workers will travel by air rather than by bus to protect against the threat of coronavirus. A series of other conditions include seasonal workers undergoing a medical check and keeping their distance from one another while they work, while their accommodation should only contain half the normal number of people. In addition, the government has sought to attract an additional 10,000 people in Germany to work on farms, including the unemployed, students, and people temporarily laid off from other jobs. In past droughts, the government has introduced financial support programs for farmers.
Toyota Motor Manufacturing in France unveiled a new hybrid car on Thursday, 23rd April, 2 days after resuming operations amid the lockdown. The factory closed on March the 17th, the date that France's lockdown entered into force, compelling people to stay at home except for essential outings. Under the measures, industrial producers are allowed to continue operating as long as protective measures have been put in place. The plant in the northern city of Onning opened on April the 21st after a 5-week closure, the first vehicle plant to reopen in the country since the start of the pandemic. The Onning factory is the only Toyota plant in France and employs 4,500 people. Only staff with no health problems were allowed back, and operations restarted in phases with smaller teams at first. In the workshop, marks on the ground indicate the direction of foot traffic and encourage everyone to keep their right in an attempt to minimize the risk of workers getting too close to one another. Collective water fountains have been replaced with individual bottles, vending machines put out of service, and catering services cancelled. Toyota was the first automotive company with a plant in France to reach an agreement with unions for a gradual restart of production. Restrictions on movement in France will not be eased till at least the 11th of May, starting with the reopening of some stores and schools.
Palestinian researchers at Al-Quds University in the West Bank unveiled on April 23rd a computerized model of a ventilator device that could help coronavirus patients. The machine was produced and developed by a team of doctors and engineers from the Faculty of Medicine and the Faculty of Engineering. The team hopes The device will be used to supposed coronavirus patients in intensive care units. Production is set to start after it is approved by the Health Ministry. The university said it will also start producing 100 ventilators in their labs. Other Palestinian universities, organizations and companies were also developing ventilator prototypes but said they still were working on preparing them for official review. The West Bank only has a total of 215 ventilators, one for every 13,953 people, according to the Health Ministry. Gaza has a total of 93 ventilators for 21,505 people. 2 people have died after contracting the coronavirus in the Palestinian territories, including Gaza and the West Bank, and nearly 336 cases have been reported.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.